Okay, I'd like to call today's finance meeting on Thursday, October 16th to order. It's 4:34 p.m. Notice that Lampy, Davis, Stocks, and Berg is online. Missing just Smith. We have a quorum. First up is business. Under budget, and it's time I'd like to recuse myself and appoint Alderman Lampy as chair.
Thank you, Mayor. This is John Lampy, and I will be your chair for this evening. We have another exciting budget to go through. Just as we have for the past couple of nights, we're going to be proceeding through this, looking at the Fund 1 items, if applicable, and then essentially moving immediately to discussion on the related Fund 5 items. As you can see that's stated in the agenda. We are also going to look at a few other funds tonight, including the water, wastewater funds, and the solid waste division. So we're going to proceed exactly as things are listed in the agenda. I do want to thank the other two alders who are joining us tonight as well. We have a lot to discuss this evening. So we think we're going to start with an easy one. Let's take a look at airport, which is on 05453. And Mr. Stevens, would you like to tell us where that is?
Page 24.
Thank you very much. Everybody's had a chance to look at that. There is some slight changes as noted by the blue numbers in the mayor column. Anybody has any questions about those or anything else in that budget? Please let me know.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Berg?
No questions either, Jonathan.
Thank you. Anything else from the other alders present? All right, I'm probably not generally going to call on you guys individually, so.
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to be clear though, when we are on these topics, we have been doing it so far where we go into the capital expenses that are related to that budget item that we're talking about. So if I can, there was a reference in airport of 110,000 for fencing. Are we discussing that as an option, or is that on a different part of the meeting?
No, we are there. And so since there were no Fund 1 topics, yes, I'd be perfectly happy to move to Fund 5. Did you have a question you wanted to address to someone on that?
No, probably not. I'm just wanting to make sure that that's our format is to talk about the capital improvements related to the budget item that we're talking about, to at least continue with what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's what I covered in my
Right.
opening remarks.
All right, very good. Thank you.
So I am flipping back and forth in here, and one of the things that I like to do is, if you've seen me the last couple of days, is just take a look at where this request falls in our capital improvement plans. So I have the 5-year capital improvement plan with me most of the time. So one of the things that is noted on the 5-year capital plan is that the fencing for the airport was listed at 110 in 2026, so no surprise there, but it's the so-called purple number, suggesting that there's funding from a different source on this.
The funding already exists. It was borrowed or provided in the past. And also that's why I do have it on page 60 shown as a green highlight, and the green highlight indicates that there's nothing that's necessary for new money. This is a carryover from existing funds.
Do you have any other questions on that, Mr. Berg?
No, again, I think I'm fine. That 110,000, has that been a consistent number, Mark, the last few years on their need for the maintenance on mowing?
Is that number reliable each year?
Are we flipping back to Fund One on mowing? So I think you're talking about 01, 54, 53, 36 back in Fund One. Is that correct, Mr. Berg?
No, I'm only trying to just get clarification. The 110,000, that would be capital expenses, the way it's referenced on our items we've been given. I'm just asking that that number be discussed as being a reliable number that we can expect to be close to the number needed for mowing.
I think it's for fencing. And I think that what
Fencing,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
And Mr.
Fencing, I'm
Stevens
sorry.
says, we already borrowed that monies. It's a carryover. So it's not new borrowing from this year. So that's taken care of. There's really not
You're right.
much we need to verify on that.
You're right. I'm looking at my notes are not good. Thank you.
Okay, without any other discussion, I believe we are closing out discussion of airport items, Fund 5 and Fund 1 for the evening. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next item listed in the agenda, which are the engineering items. And again, those are the ones in 015410 located on
Page 20.
I don't have any questions.
No questions on engineering. The intent here, I believe, is to keep rolling on to the next page and then start to take a look at the other departments. So if you move to page 21, you have machinery and equipment, street garages, and street administration. If there's an item to call your attention to, it would be down in street garage. The fuel allocation was reduced in the mayor's requests. Yes, Ms. Davis.
I think it just looks like more in line as to what the total estimated amount is for this year.
Thank you. Okay, I do want to pause here and do a quick flip to Fund 5 then. So if we move to page 59, near the bottom, starting with engineering, we have a couple of pieces of equipment related to survey.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Davis.
For Andrew, are these replacements or new purchases for new equipment?
These are replacements. The existing survey equipment isn't supported. It's an old version of Windows that's being phased out.
Thank you.
I'll just make my note. These are also things we've been staring at in the 5-year plan as expected for this year. Any other questions on those items? No questions or motions. We can move back. Sure, I'm doing this in the right order. Okay, I want to look at Fund 5. If I'm chaining this up correctly, and tell me if I'm doing this right, Mark. I'm looking at street in Fund 5, still on page 59, which has a number of items, which I believe corresponds account-wise to machinery and equipment. Do not believe we have any other adjustments that are recommended by the mayor. As I look at our 5-year capital plan, again, these look just in line. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
Stacy, could you remind us what we purchased this year? I think we did a swap of sorts on the plan.
Solid waste.
Okay.
Um, In streets, we carried over trucks were taking too long to get. Right. Oh, sorry. Yep, so the swap of funds we'll get to, that was in solid waste. This year, we do have a tandem and a single axle coming, but that was actually from 24 funds that was carried over into 25. So those trucks would be replacing a 1994 single axle and a 2003 tandem. The next one I'd like to replace with 26 funds, if approved, is a 1995. No, I'm sorry, it is a 1999 tandem, so they're old. It's time. The loader is a 2010 that we would be replacing. We had to do kind of a quick last minute addition, Mark and I and Andrew, with adding 15,000 for our building generator. And that's just basically to upgrade it. That building generator is a 2009. We had a power outage probably 6 months ago, sometime this year. And we realized that our generator was not going all the way to our fuel pumps, which in an emergency is a super big deal.
Yeah.
So our mechanics worked through some things that they could fix. They were working with the company that would fix our generator and came up with that number, and we can get that done shortly after the first of the year if approved.
Are there any other comments or motions at this time? Not, I'd like to close out those items that you see on page 21. I believe that traffic signals actually on page 59 is also something that we do not actually have any entries on. So we'll save you a little bit of page flipping there. I'm just gonna move on.
Jonathan, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Berg.
Yeah. Mark, give me again the explanation to help me understand, or at least remind me on, when I look at salaries under street administration, and I look at the DPW AMSO allocation, that $153,000, that's a subtraction?
That's correct.
Yeah. So again, so when I look at so that 266,000, 968, that's an overall number on salary, but so that 153,000 has to do with the Department of Engineering,
This would be for street administration on this page.
Street Administration.
The engineering would also have an AMSO on its page, which is page 20.
Okay, all right. And that explain again the things that are included in that category that you've told about us before.
Sure. These are subtractions from the general fund to allocate department-wide payroll related expenses to other funds outside of the general operations.
Yeah, all right.
Do you have any other questions on that, Mr. Berg?
I guess not, no.
Okay, I would like to move then to the item that's at the top of page 22, traffic control, 05424. This is another account that does not have any changes suggested by the mayor. No motions, no comments on that?
Oh, no.
And I
No.
will, I do want to check before I move on to a larger account perhaps. Have I hit all of the other engineering and non-street maintenance accounts at this time? Okay. I do want to then switch up. As per the agenda, we are actually going to do this a little bit backward. So annual infrastructure in Fund 5. is something that we had agenda itemed first. So if you join me on page 61. And I believe what we are looking at here is items starting with 05, 58, 11, 69 through 05, 58, 11, 92,
I would say actually the whole page.
the whole page.
Yep.
Okay.
Because this is all related to Andrew's area.
Very good. All of 61 then. This has a,
We wanted, okay.
go ahead, Mr. Berg.
No, you're asking for a discussion on that page?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I think we had discussion last night a bit about the potential need for an additional allocation on dealing with streets on a capital expense above and beyond what is showing here. And that may or may not happen, but my area of some concern is on seal coating showing 80,000. And I know that when you look at Watertown the last 5 years, they've been spending anywhere from 150 to 225 or more thousand on street seal coating and repair patching type of maintenance on streets as a category. But why the lower number on this year of 80,000? And maybe again, I can justify it if we do allocate potentially additional funds on resurfacing streets and a maintenance approach. I can maybe ignore it, but otherwise I think we're late on that.
I can jump in there. Mr. Berg, there's about $70,000 we'd be looking to carry over in the seal coat reserve account, bringing that total for next year to about $150,000.
Okay, good job. All right, well, that's a better answer.
Mr. Lampy. And then, Mr. Berg, it's my understanding that the $500,000 has been added by the mayor in response to several requests from others on the council to increase spending in streets for next year. So that is listed in there, that additional $500,000.
Yeah. Mhm. You're right. All right, on the other topic that I do a lot of walking, and when I walk, I obviously use sidewalk. And when I'm walking on sidewalk, and I brought it up with Andrew already on this topic, but I'm a bit bothered by our lax approach on dealing with sidewalk maintenance. And when I was chairman of Public Works, we did allocate each year a part of our town, of our city, and we did an inspection of that area, defined area, and then we would come up with marking sidewalks as needed that needed replacement or repair. And I'm looking at the amount you have in there of 30,000. I know Andrew had indicated that they might be going back to an approach of targeting a part of town and doing inspections within that area of town to ensure that we're more aggressively, actively dealing with gross negligence on the part of sidewalk that needs attention on a safety note. There's parts of town that just are awful when you get into just walking on sidewalk, and it just seems it should be obvious, but right now our approach is to be complaint driven, oriented, and unless a complaint comes forward from a private citizen, these sidewalk sections can go on for years without being dealt with because of that method of dealing with the problem. However, if we do like we've been doing and we target a part of town and we proactively send out our staff to look at sidewalk within that area, we more proactively actually address the problem in a timely way. And I think that's what we should be doing. So is 30,000 enough to be addressing that approach?
Mr. Berg, we're looking to carry over funding in the sidewalk reserve account to next year, bringing that number to around $75,000 in that sidewalk reserve account. We'd also be looking to go back to that model of selecting a repair area, bringing that forward to Public Works and then to council through resolution, a more targeted approach for a specific sidewalk area. So that what you're describing is what we'd be looking to go back to next year, in addition to a complaint-driven program.
Yeah, good job, Andrew. Thank you.
Are there additional comments or motions on this? Okay, I will share comments that Alder Smith made to me yesterday. He did want to talk about that $500,000 and encourage that would be earmarked for resurfacing. So I wanted to make sure that was thrown in and available to folks here in today's discussion.
Yeah.
I do want to understand, as we're looking at this budget, if you look at the annual streets from last year to this year and sum them up, what is the difference with and without that $500,000 allocation?
I'm not remembering my exact math, but I think it was close to 1.8 million prior to the 500,000. It's usually around 1.750, but I think it was a little bit more than that. So I think it was 1.8.
Okay. Why was 2025's higher than that? As a rolling average, if you look at 1.6 for 2025, 1.8 for 2026 without that number, what made 2025 that much larger?
The year 25 includes the start of Rock River Ridge allocation. And so that has come in, but we haven't yet closed TID 4 to offset it with TID 4 money. So the amount that we paid to the foundation is part of the actual to date spending in 25.
Okay, do you know approximately how much that would have been?
I can look it up while we're talking.
I'd like that if you could.
Yeah, I think it's 750, but I'll look it up. Is it 750? Yeah, okay, it's 750.
Okay. Well, if that is 750, the numbers that I'm sort of eyeballing here across the board from 2024, 2025, and 2026 line up at about 1.6, 1.75, and 1.8. Without that reallocated $500,000.
Yeah, so that is what I recollect.
The other number that I worry about here is the number that we had talked about in finance in terms of maximum bonding per our scenarios, which was at 5.5 versus what was the 5.947, 574. Although I believe that is now about 5.5 because we took out the $400,000 shelter last night.
Yes.
Okay. So, and this is the part that I know we want to revisit Monday when we have essentially all members of finance back, but basically to get us down to a starting level on at least the bonding pieces, I would propose a motion to reduce that $500,000 increased street infrastructure line item. I'd propose a motion to reduce that by $47,574, which would, I believe, equal the amount that we would need to get the total excluding transit and carryover amount down to 5.5 and put us at the top end of our Baird scenarios. I guess I'm looking for confirmation that that would actually do that from the finance director.
$47, just to get it to the 5.9 or 5.4.
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
Yep, I would
Okay.
agree with that.
So I would make that motion to reduce that line item by 47,574.
I would second it, based on the point you're making. I think we can talk about it further, but I'm in favor.
So discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
I think, in my opinion, that's preliminary. We haven't even, as a finance committee, decided on an amount to borrow. And so I don't think we need to be cutting odd numbers at this point, 47,000. I think Monday, we need to settle on a amount to borrow. And then at that point, there will be some cutting to do. And so I understand your thinking there and your thought process, but I think it's a little preliminary and we could probably wait till Monday to get numbers where they need to be.
Thank you. Are there other comments from members of the finance committee, any of the other alders present? Is there some more information
yeah.
from? Go
Sorry,
ahead,
if I
Mr.
could
Berg.
chime in, please. This is
Oh,
Alderman
yes,
Arnett.
please, Arnett.
Thank you. I would entirely concur with Alderperson Davis that it is way too early to be doing that when you don't even know what your overall number is yet, and you have not considered a number of other key elements of that budget area.
Thank you, Mr. Arnett. Is there any other?
And,
Yes, Mr. Berg?
Yeah, Alderperson Lempe, just to reiterate then what our other two alderpersons have stated, I think in the context of this point being made, I think it probably is premature and it wouldn't be necessary to take action in favor of that motion tonight. I'm not in favor.
Thank you. Is there additional discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, Mr. Moldenhauer, did you have a comment?
I would agree with Alderperson Davis also.
Thank you. There are no additional comments. I would like to put this up for a vote. So it's my motion, so I'll go first. I'll vote aye. Let's go around the room. I haven't done this yet tonight. Mr. Berg,
No.
Ms. Davis,
No,
motion fails 3-1, or I'm sorry, 2-1. Yes, Mr.
Alderperson
Berg.
Lempe, on this overall topic, though, I'm in favor of the $500,000 of additional money based on what we're talking about right now. But I think the point of resurfacing versus other methods of maintenance on street, I don't want to restrict us to that approach of resurfacing because I know that there are other approaches to doing maintenance on a street, and I'm quite supportive of a method that's more of a maintenance method where you mill off and you put back down. And by doing that, you can extend the amount of the street area that you can cover with limited dollars. And we did it many times throughout the years when Rick Schultz was our superintendent, and it was very successful everywhere we did it, and it extends the life of a street up to maybe 10 years or more, and it does it in a way that saves money versus doing a resurfacing, which incurs more cost to comply with that method of maintenance. I don't want to restrict us to resurfacing for those $500,000. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. As it's currently stated in the budget proposal, it is generically increased street infrastructure. The resurfacing comment that I had made was a comment made by Alder Smith in terms of a potential restriction or redirection of that fund. So as it stands today, it is not necessarily limiting what that money is used for.
All right, thank you.
I guess I would like to hear a little bit of commentary from Andrew in terms of what is the intent of that money and how it could be used, just to make sure that our expectations are aligned.
Sure. We haven't put pencil to paper as far as street candidates yet, but we do have a number of potential, resurfacing. And the term resurfacing can be rather broad. It can be from anywhere from that maintenance approach that Mr. Berg describes to something more of a full depth pavement replacement. But in terms of general street infrastructure, there are a number of either maintenance or resurfacing candidates kind of in the queue that we can pick and choose from depending on that dollar allocation.
Okay, are there any other questions? We have quite a variety of streets here. Everybody else feels this is a good collection. Seems to be generally what we have been looking at again in the capital project for 5 years out. Okay, without further comment or motions, I think I can direct our attention back into Fund 1, where we're going to start looking at some of the other items that are in street maintenance. So if I'm doing this correctly, we're back on page 22, the second item, street maintenance.
Alderperson Lampy, if I could, on that category, I see a subtraction of 40,000. And this proposed change, is that initiated by, is that our Mayor Stocks with a suggestion that we start that position sometime during the year to save money? Tell me how that 40,000 was arrived at.
I believe that's the per department calculation that was asked for a more aggressive calculation of our unfilled and vacancies across the entire city.
That
But-
would be correct.
I'm sorry.
That
Ma-
is correct.
Mayor, did you want to chime some in?
It's a street person for half a year is what it is, I believe.
Yes.
Don't assuming that like there'd be somebody missing for half a year, but there's one person for 2 months and somebody else for 4 months. Which was asked by finance to assume that our jobs will not be filled 100% of the time.
Right.
I see, okay.
Are there any other comments on 54-31?
I have no comments.
Okay, I'm going to move ahead to the next page, page 23. In the interest of moving along a little faster, we'll take all 3 sections here: snow and ice control, signs and marking, and street lighting. Any comments or motions on this section?
Curiosity, what's the price of salt like these days? Is it stable?
And, but about the same as it could be.
Mhm.
Last year, 2025 is 93.16. Oh, my phone.
And so you have leftover budget, you're gonna buy ahead a little?
I am, because I did have a contingency fund, so to speak, of 300 ton, I believe it was in 2025 for emergency. Like if the quantity that we had reserved for us with the state plan was not enough,
Mhm.
I had a little contingency, didn't have to use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and, as soon as the new season, which technically is December 1, doesn't match our budget. So there's been Decembers when I'm like, oh, please make it to January. We're in a little different spot this year. So after December 1st, I can order for the 2026 season.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Just for visibility, that's 01543518.
correct.
no one else has any other comments or motions, questions on this, I would like to move to make sure we're completely out here. I think we are done with streets, aren't we, Mark?
Yes, solid waste, page 79.
Okay. We're going to switch funds. Okay, I think one of the things that strikes us a little bit as we start to move into Fund 17 here is that some of the blue numbers we have are actually on the request side in this budget. Can you describe a little about that, Mark?
Some of those numbers I am the source of, for instance, interest income. The department doesn't do that as I do. AMSO allocation would be the similar type one. If it's any wage account, it's typically because of some of the things that we go back and forth to a department and interact with them on particular whatevers. If it's an income, like the penalties number, my assumption is, I don't remember, Stacy, if we had conversation on that. I would think that there was something that we assumed was going to potentially change, but I mean, it's a very moderate difference there. The penalties under revenues, I don't recall why that. Okay, so I'm not sure what that one was. Except that I tend to, when departments put their numbers in, if as I'm reviewing, sense that what their number is, and I don't have what the original number was, you would have access to that there, but it very well could be that the trend of the current last 12 months is better suited to be what my number is versus theirs. And on the backside, insurance premiums, when I'm calculating those sorts of things, I fill those in.
Thank you. On this particular budget, I hope everybody has seen the comment that is below salaries regarding the mechanic. I do have a question on here, if no one else does. My short question is around, is this one of the budgets that would be potentially affected by some of the solar project? Okay.
I have a question. More of a comment, and you'll notice, let's see, in the revenue line, 480513, fees for items collected at street. We had a total estimate this year of 96,000, almost 97,000. And then this upcoming year would be just 38,000. So that's obviously because we've changed the fee structure, which is a huge benefit for the residents of Watertown. But then it is about almost $59,000 decrease in revenue to this fund. So I just thought that was interesting. I don't know that we ever got into the specifics of what the decrease in revenue would be. I think regardless, it's a good thing to be able to do for our residents, but it is a decrease in revenue for sure.
It is. We are getting paid for some of those items now, so that falls under sale of recyclables might go up. A lot of it is, I mean, to be quite honest, a guessing game. I don't know how many people are going to come through with things throughout the course of the year. I base it from year to year,
Right.
I will tell you, we're gonna be doing better in our landfill account, the 1758, 1742. Because we finished with I'm waiting for the contract from the new vendor for, landfill disposal.
Mhm.
So we are switching. It is much lower.
Nice.
So there's going to be, a pretty substantial difference there. Caveats with that, fuel usage might go up because it's a little farther away. There might be a little bit more wear and tear on the trucks. This will be a test year, but the overall landfill fee is much improved.
As a follow-up, Mr. Smith last night at our meeting paid a lot of attention to fund balance, and so I'll carry that tonight. So we're projecting, what is that, about close to $500,000 decrease to the fund balance. Is that concerning at all to you, or I noticed that last year there was a $273,000 proposed, but it's going to be less than that. And then it also sounds like with what you just told us with the landfill rental, that's going to be different. So not too concerned about that.
I'm really not. I kind of lean heavily on Mr. Stevens for watching our fund balance, but yeah, with the landfill, the new landfill contract, we are working on a study for our monthly rates. That may adjust a small amount, but they too think we're doing pretty well, so.
Good.
Mhm.
Also on the bottom line, if you get down to the debt, what I think we're seeing here is this is the end of the 16 notes. And it's borne out in the reduced debt expense. Are there any other questions or comments on Fund 17? Okay, if not, I want to turn back to the stormwater utility, which is Fund 16, immediately before that one.
What page?
77. Anybody have any immediate questions here? I'll go ahead with mine, which again, on the salaries here, the note here has the addition of a FTE, but the budgeted number drops from 25 to 26. How does that happen?
The FTE went into effect in 2025. As to the drop in salaries, I can't speak to the drop from 452 and change to 439 and change, Mark, if you have anything to add there.
I don't off the top of my head, except that you see what the estimated is for the year and it's 400, not 452. So next year is a projected increase over what this year's actual looks like it's running.
Okay, and I also noticed this is a budget that does not have that vacancy calculation in it either. So I think we've gotten used to those in a couple of other budgets, but this one does not have that. So we are, as you said, perhaps returning to the norm. Are there any other questions or comments on either page of this fund?
I have a question.
Ms.
What are
Davis.
the long-term goals? What are we saving for? Stormwater, what's next on the horizon as far as big purchases? Because there is a considerable amount in the fund balance. We're using quite a bit.
Yes and yes. And there is a study currently underway to evaluate rates to make sure we're set up going forward. But there are a number of pretty large capital projects coming down the pike pertaining to flooding. There's a Hart Street project that we're in the study going into the design phase on. That'll be a pretty sizable project to move water from the Hart Street and Wacoka Street area to the Rock River. And then Maureen, if you have anything to add on that one, but outside of the flooding projects, there are some compliance projects with our water quality trading program that we've been putting together for the last several years to kind of go into that other arm of DNR compliance with our program. So between flooding and compliance, there are a number of large projects coming down the pike.
Okay, thank you.
So there's,
Jonathan?
go ahead, Mr. Berg.
Yeah. Again, when you look at that fund balance and it shows a large number for the beginning of 2026, and then with what we're looking at in the budget of based on approval, we're going to have a subtraction of 994,000.
That's the number that's on the bottom of the mayor's column. And
All
unless
right.
we make further
Right, yeah.
changes, that's the one we'll adopt.
Right. All right. And so again, that number that this is actually shown before, but the amount that we should have in there for 2026, the end of the year, is going to be that 3,080,000 minus this amount that we are projecting to subtract for the year. That'll be our new number.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. But so tell me why aren't those changes on our sheets made? If we're looking at a subtraction of 994, why isn't it that we're making the adjustment and showing what that bottom line is going to potentially be based on that subtraction of 994?
This is consistent with all of the pages, Mr. Berg. The calculation that fills that cell is based on the adopted column, not the mayor's column. So until we get that final column filled in, then you won't see that populated. I just assumed that somebody's eyes
Right.
could be able to take a look at it,
All
but
right.
yeah,
Right.
that's why
Okay.
they're all zeros.
Okay. Well, then let me understand from Andrew or anyone else on this topic, Maureen. But if we have that type of a healthy balance, and if there's topics that are deemed necessary during the year, they can actually be then approved knowing that fund balance. Or I mean, usually you have, like we have, a budget and you identify your capital expenses and your projects you want to actually have for expenditure for the year you're going into. But am I getting the impression that we have this ability to identify projects during the year that come up that we feel are needed? And then just based on knowing we have a healthy balance, we can authorize expenditure in that manner or not?
We try to look ahead and make sure that things on our radar are included in either the capital outlay account or an operating account. But if something does come up throughout the year that needs to happen, we could draw on that fund balance and amend the budget going through the process for that. But yes, it is healthy at this point. But yeah, I believe that option exists.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about fund balances. I know that when we have an expenditure in these areas, that they can be sizable, but that large of an amount seems, to be excessive. And I know it's based on our rates and the formula that we have for charging property under that stormwater utility fee method. But it seems we can't continue to allow this to grow in a manner that would get much larger than it is.
Do you have any motions or changes you want to make to the 2026 budget?
I'm not
I think-
suggesting any right now, but I'm concerned about the amount of that balance growing. And I think it's going to require us to look more at that fee structure, unless they come up with justified expenses that can bring it down. We can't continue to allow that fund balance to grow to much of a bigger number than it already is.
Okay. If there's another reference point that I think we may want to reshare. It has to do with a couple of those stormwater options that we looked at earlier this year. Sort of the, I don't want to say they're sort of the Goldilocks piece, but we have a couple of larger proposals, I thought, that sort of rounded out some of the questions that were asked here, like what are the major things coming forward? We have some specific things we looked at earlier this year. We may want to recirculate that to Finance Council.
That sounds good. With the rate study that's currently underway, that is scheduled to go before the Public Works Commission in the coming weeks and months. Following the Public Works Commission, that would come before Finance Committee. So I think a lot of the questions being asked tonight with the fund balance and some of the future projects we have on the horizon can be shared in some greater detail at that point.
Right, and I believe Alder Arnett chairs that commission.
Correct.
Okay, he's with us here and hopefully is listening in and can help address a few things too. Thank
I'm
you.
listening.
I always know you are, Tony. Thank you. There's nothing else on the Stormwater Fund. I would actually invite you to turn toward the beginning of the book, and we're going to go all the way back to Fund 3, the Water Fund. That's on page 38. We're going to take this probably a page at a time. So any comments or questions on page 38, the first page, which is sales of water, other operating revenue? No comments? Move on to page 39, which is other income and the total balances. No one has anything there. We're going to move on to page 40, which is operating expenses, interest charges, and there are no miscellaneous income deductions. Just have a clarifying question for Mr. Stevens on this one. So as we're looking at the interest charges here, this is interest in arrears, or we basically are not paying down any principal charges for this in 2025. Is that just what that indicates through the new accounts?
These are our three new lead line loans, and we got the paperwork literally right before we put together the budget on it. And all those are possible interest amounts, but the reality is, as soon as we get the money, we'll be reimbursed for that money. So if anything, the interest is probably on the high side. Depends on what amount of money is spent / then reimbursed. And also, most of this initial year is going to be money that's grant money.
Okay, how are we going to end up representing that? Will that be separate revenue and expense accounts? If a portion of the principal is forgivable, do we carry that on our books or do we wipe that off soon? Like, what can we expect in going forward?
Yeah, it's an oddity because it's not that we're going to borrow X $100,000 and then pay it back over time. We're gonna get the money and pay it back within a week. And also, this is a different animal that we've not had before. And because it's not going to actually end up being an expense, I'm assuming that I'll just post both the money coming in and the money going out into that principal account.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments on that? If not, I'll invite you to join me on page 41. which also has a few other small accounts. There are some apparent mayoral adjustments here. And I'm going to just flip over to my notes on that real fast.
This Fund 2 and Fund 3 that we're looking at, if you recall, was a revised copy that I cited to you through email and then gave to you in paper yesterday. And also those blue numbers represent some modifications in the payroll that were incorrect allocations to start with. So this is a correction of allocations among these different funds. Pete has a much better answer than I do on these, but the PSC, when he's doing his reporting, needs to have all kinds of separations of expenses. And so that's why we've got a series in the next few pages of very similar looking numbers and amounts because they all tie into PSC reports.
Yeah, appreciate that explanation. And just as a point of clarification, that they appear to be very close to what we had there in 2025. So if no one has any further comment on 41, we'll look at 42, where again, there is a breakdown. We do have one expense that significantly shows up for fuel for power purchased. Any questions or comments on that? Moving on to page 43, miscellaneous expenses, maintenance structures, maintenance power. We have no comments or questions on that. Let's move to page 44, maintenance pumping. And then in the water treatment with operation chemicals, operation labor and expenses. And you see similar breakouts of similar sizes for those categories. Move on then to page 45, where we have additional supplies and expense. And we start to get into some of the transmission and distribution expenses. Mostly distributed mounts again. Page 46. We do have some adjustments, and again, I'll turn to Mr. Stevens if these are part of the general corrections that we made over the past couple of days. Okay, so he confirmed as much for those on the phone.
I have a question. Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Davis.
So I see this on this page and going forward, and perhaps I missed it on some previous pages, but there's a drop between the requested, for instance, on page 46, the first line salary, 85,000 drops to 67,000. Does that mean that that's the impact of the adjusted pay scale that actually reduced the salaries?
No, to be honest.
Because we weren't going to do that.
The 85,556 had an extra 5 in it. It was a typo. And so the correction would have been 8556, but because of other allocation corrections, you don't see the two looking alike at all. There's two 85,556 numbers.
So just disregard,
Yeah, they were typos.
because I've never seen that before where
No.
the salary goes down and, well, no, we've only seen it go up, and it shouldn't go down because it wouldn't make sense to go down.
Okay, I'd like to move on to page 47. We have similar changes. And page 48 continues that in terms of distribution of salary and other items. We continue on to some of the customer accounts expense, including meter reading, labor, and records and collection. And here is a place where we may want to slow down a little bit because we do have a difference in figures between 25 and 26 that I think I would have a question on. So line 03903010. Is this an allocation? Or is this different?
All of these are allocations only within the department. In other words, it's not money coming in from a different fund. This is not AMSO. This is strictly water department. And also, I'm not sure what the detail is on the individuals, but again, this one looks like the adopted budget of 162 versus the estimated budget of 88. So the 162 probably was the inaccurate start on this. And the allocation looks more in line with what this year's estimate is.
Okay, thank you. I think I do want to continue on to page 50, which again, there's an adjustment, particularly with the administrative and general salary going up. Go ahead, sir.
Some of that is the same as the previous one, back and forth there with the administrative in general and the, excuse me, billing and collections. It's the administrative group and some of the managers. So it is a complicated distribution of wages with the water department.
Great.
So I would say that the numbers you're seeing now are more reflective of where that breakout should be. And again, we just recently had another adjustment to that. We had an employee move from one position to another one, and the allocation didn't follow that employee.
Okay,
So hopefully we get that right.
thank you.
26.
When we get to 51. We start off, I believe, a little bit of good news in the disability and work comp insurance coming down off the adopted number from 2023. Anyone else have any questions or concerns on the numbers on this page? 51. All right, if not, we have reached the end of Fund 3. Go ahead, Pete.
I just wanted to check to make sure everyone got the
Jonathan?
summary. Sorry. Is that a? Oh, just making sure everyone got the summary page. Thank you. Would also just like to point out that the budget you're looking at may have some changes regarding the salary and distribution of wages yet. That is yet to be determined after talking with Andrew today. There appears to still be a few positions that we need to have aligned properly on the grade within McGrath study, as we had some position title changes, which resulted in some changes. So I don't believe those are correct yet. However, the changes that may happen will amount to less than 1% overall of the budget, and these wages are fully funded. So, you know, it's possible that we wouldn't have any issues until later in the year. This could be addressed in further detail next Monday. If that's something people would like to do, I would ask perhaps that be in a closed session.
I'm sorry, you've thrown a couple of things at me quickly here. So there's another round of wage adjustment revisions coming to regrade to the pay scale. Is that something that we could have final numbers on by Monday?
Yeah, we'll work on having a powwow tomorrow to find out what needs to potentially be modified. As far as I know, what I have from McGrath is incorporated into what you see.
Correct, but the discussions with McGrath and the mayor and Andrew and I have 8 positions that we don't feel are in the right grade due to the changes with the no more steps for certifications and the retitling of our staff.
Okay,
So there was I haven't seen the study results, so in details, it would be helpful. And that's what we're hoping to finish wrapping up in our discussions about some of these employees and where they landed on their grades.
So what's the proposal for the closed session on Monday?
To review my recommendation for staff placement on the scale. As I had pointed out in my summary, we would like to incorporate the adjustments based on the revised study to align the utility employees to the midpoint. Keeping
Okay.
in mind Fund 2 and 3 are not subject to the revenue restraints. It's multifaceted, so I think some further discussion would be warranted.
I would agree, it's not necessarily subject to the Fund 1 restraints, but at this point, it sounds like we don't have enough information to basically close out the fund as a finance committee.
Like I said, you could, it is fully funded, where Mark put the positions. It's not a 95% or 90% of the wages. So if it moves forward and is approved as it is, it's possible if we have a vacancy that it wouldn't come up in the end of the year on the bottom line. Again, it might. It's an unknown at this time.
But we're looking for a closed session that would specifically put those 8 employees at a specific location or not. We,
Yes, we were talking today, Andrew and I, regarding a couple of these positions, seeing that they were not on the correct grade that we had discussed. So I haven't seen the final copy of the McGrath study, so I'm not sure
okay. Ms.
where that
Davis?
would be.
I would say that ultimately the finance committee can recommend things to come on the agenda, but it's between you and the mayor to decide whether and that would come to us on Monday and how it would come, whether it be in a closed session or not.
Understood.
So my preference would be that it does, as per,
To make a
as
recommendation.
per the recommendation. And I also would talk about wanting to kick 3 and 2 over for final approval to Monday, since we're gonna have some fresh numbers again.
We're not really, a final approval won't come till Monday on the budget. So any of these, I think, could still be revisited until we vote to approve the budget. So
Okay, but we'd set that expectation, I think, to chat with you again on Monday.
Sounds good.
Mayor, you want to add some thoughts here?
For finance to go on the agenda, the chair can choose to do that, or the finance committee can vote to make it be put on. If you guys are just recommending, we can make sure it's on Monday.
yeah, I think a recommendation is fine.
Okay. I'll work on it with Megan, have it on tomorrow then, or put on before agendas go out tomorrow.
Okay.
Jonathan,
Mr. Berg, are you
just
trying
wanna
to
say
chime
I'm
in?
favor. Yeah, I am if I can. I want to just be in favor of Peter's, and if he's feeling a need to have that discussed for adjustment before we approve budgets for next year, I want to be on the side of supporting him in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berg.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
ma'am?
also want to ask a question, though, if I can, on page 48, just to be clear again, some of that mistake that was made on salaries in each of those categories for each of these pages where we had a number. Under salaries for maintenance of hydrants, as an example, what is the right salary amount to be in there for? Is what's in there correct, or is it the wrong number?
I believe what's in there is correct. So that maintenance of hydrants is a split. It's 25% of 4 employees that work on the distribution team.
All right, Peter.
I have a question.
Ms. Davis,
All right.
go ahead.
My question is, could you refresh my memory? How did we pay for the refurbishing of the water tower this past summer?
That was all out of the cash on hand.
In what account?
That was, well, Mark would have that account, we put it into a capital expense.
It
So
was
the
a
money
capital
came
expense.
from cash and reserves and it was spent on our 03999999 is where the money was pulled out of. Is that correct, Mark? Yes.
So that brings me to the question about a fund balance here. This fund balance of $6 million is earmarked for what in the future? Just bullet points. Am I reading that right? 6.9 million total. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at, so I'm not reading it right. What? I was looking at that as fund balance and I was wrong. Where am I finding fund balance? In this?
Are you looking for total revenue or total expenditure?
I was looking for if you have any reserves, any fund balance. in
Yes,
this
we do
account.
have some reserves. That would be included on my summary page. So currently at the end of, on that page, it's cash and fund balance end of July 2025 was 7,175,756, which basically changes every day.
So
Mark might have the most updated number with him.
that amount that you just said, $7 million, isn't anywhere listed on these budget pages for Fund 3?
Correct. We don't list the investment numbers on this budget. This is the revenue and expenditure.
So what will that be used for? In bullet points, what do you have that earmarked for in the future?
Well, that money typically goes into our capital expenditures. That's how we spend for the capital with cash.
So
The
did
reserve,
you draw from that money to pay for the water tower?
well, in a sense, yes. So like this year's budget, the capital in that account number is 1,107,000.
Okay,
So that 1,107,000, if there is a difference in revenue projected and expenses projected, we would draw out of the cash reserves. This particular year, there is not an expense number that exceeds the revenue. So if we were to have more expenses than revenue, yes, we would be drawing out of that money. That money also seeds and funds these capital projects and our daily operations. Mark could probably give you more details regarding the investment funds.
that's okay. I guess I was curious to know about your reserves and you gave me that answer.
Yes.
And this year, is it safe to say, because it's just that the budget is so many different areas.
Yes, I
You
know.
don't have a major capital project?
Oh, no, we have several major capital projects.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I have studied this. Where do I find those?
Those have also been included with the budget, a separate page for each individual capital project.
But in the line items, where do I see the capital?
So it's two items and the expenses are for the capital. They're on the, I don't have the exact page number that you have. Stacy has it here. So
I
let's look
think
into it.
I
It's on the
might
last page.
have not printed that last page for you.
Thank
And
you.
I think that that's the issue. Like, because I don't
Okay.
have it in mine
Well, then-
as well.
We don't need to further the discussion then. I'll just
Yep.
get that from him at some point. Okay, thank you.
Oh, that makes a little more sense now while you're asking those questions.
Yes.
Two other additional comments that I'll add. The utility accounts are their ending cash balance, if you will, is not referred to as a fund balance. It is instead called cash and equivalents. And there's a lot of Mickey Mouse accounting that has to be involved with depreciations and the like. And so the second comment that I'll give to you is that unlike any of our other funds, PSC has a high expectation of fund balance. And it looks like a large number, because it's larger than any of the other funds numbers, but that's a insistence upon the state.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, just to clarify or summarize that last discussion here, the printed budget packets that finance was looking at did not have the last page of Fund 3, which had the balance summary. So that caused a little bit of confusion, but it is
Correct.
available in the packet online.
Yes.
Yes, the packet online has it.
Is there any other discussion on Fund 3? We took the to-do to notice that for Monday. We're going to move backward one more to wastewater, which is Fund 2, beginning on page 33. Based on that last discussion, I'm going to go all the way to the end of that fund and just basically make sure that we have fund balance at the end of that. We do. Okay, restarting on Fund 2, page 33. Are there, Mr. Stevens, did you want to say something?
I also looked for the last page. It's there.
We worked together for a while, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. The page 33, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on that page? If not, we can move out of the revenue accounts and into expenses, starting with operation expenses. Again, no changes between requested and mayor on these. Mr. Hartz, is this something that's going to be affected by some of those as well?
Yes, the same applies with this account with the employees we were talking about with water.
Okay. Thank you for that heads up. I still want to proceed through this thing just basically to make sure that we've put to bed all of the other expenses as much as possible. Okay, moving on to page 35. We're looking at maintenance, billing, and collection. Are there any comments or questions on this? Moving on to page 36, the administrative and general expenses. And then finally, for Fund 2, I would call your attention to page 37, which talks about some of our debt, the capital outlay, and reserves.
And the blue numbers in the mayor's column there were again typos. The numbers were just in the wrong cells, and so we made a modification. I made the modification already in the requested, but I just brought it to your attention because the first published copy of this had different numbers, and so I wanted to cite the correction there.
Great, thank you. So the one other comment that I'd make is that per Mr. Hertz's comments here, that we look at the employee allocations. We notice this broadly enough to cover any changes that might happen to funds 2 or 3, please. Is there anything else we need to know about the budget?
Just to answer a question that came up previously, the 02820030, the electric, which is on page 34. Thank you, Mark. That was lower due to the solar array.
Oh, that's where the big drop happens.
Right, that's where and that's a guess right now. So again, we're expecting 4,000 to 5,000 a month in electricity savings. Of course, I don't know yet. We're going to commission the system next week.
Right. you have not had the chance to look closely at the memos that are provided for those departments, I do suggest taking a look. There's a lot of good news in there. Is there anything else we want to cover on the water or wastewater funds before we move on down the agenda? All right, thank you so much tonight. Next item on the agenda is 2026 budget proposal discussion, follow-ups from the prior budget meeting. What we did last year in this, or what we did last night in this section is just basically reiterate that we have a few items that we want to continue to carry forward. My suggestion is that we continue to carry those forward into Monday's discussion so that we have full representation at finance. We did not mark any additional items tonight for adjustment other than the salaries that we mentioned in the water and wastewater funds. Are there any other clarifications, or is there anything anybody does want to act on from one of the previous meetings tonight?
I have an update from last night to just provide to you so that you've got that. And then I did pass out yesterday the transit system budget, if you wanted to go through that as a review.
Okay. For the benefit of Mr. Arnett, did you happen to get a copy of the City of Watertown fleet as of October 2025 sheet?
I did not.
Okay. Mr. Stevens, do you mind sharing that?
Yes, I will get a copy to him.
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
all right. Any other topics from previous budgets? Not, then I'm going to move on to item C, which review and take possible action, approve the 2026 budget for adoption by council. This is one that, again, I would suggest we move to Monday for action.
Excuse me, I did have a follow-up, two follow-ups that I didn't,
Back on B.
yep. And these were, I've got them typed at the bottom of the 10/16 date there so that you can see them. HR computer software, revised number there. The budget request was for 5968. The revised number can be 5583,
Wow.
a savings of $385. And then employee benefits admin fees, budget request was for 7,000, and I recommend that that could be dropped to 6,000.
Okay. In the interest of making our task on Monday perhaps a little bit shorter, I would actually move that we apply those budget changes to those accounts and make the appropriate change to the contingency fund to balance them out. So I would make that as a motion under section B to take advantage, to act on those items that we previously circled on the small reduction of expense that we saw in HR computer software and the small reduction of expense of employee benefits for admin fees. So again, the motion would be to reduce 01516020 by 385, 01539545 by 1,000, then increase the contingency fund by the accumulated amount of 1,385. That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second, just so we can discuss and I can ask questions.
Okay. Second by Alder Davis. We are now into discussion, please.
Okay, so what you're asking is reasonable, but have we done that for any of the other adjustments? Where we've actually made the adjustments? Did we do that? We did do that, didn't we, as we voted?
It's about 2/3 of the way down on 1013. It was done once with Rock River Community Clinic. And then you'll see the contingency fund line went from 100,000 to 105.
Right. And I'd like to address that essentially by saying that this was one of the ones that I thought was more of a consensus correction based on what were the actual numbers as opposed to one that struck me as a little bit more intent on policy, for example, scooting the captain forward or back or making major changes to the transit program. So this to me felt more like a clerical correction based on something that we were told in the memo, but wasn't necessarily implemented in the budget. So if we feel that it's not a consensus item, we should move it to Monday.
So just as a follow-up, we've done it once, but there is more to do if we were to subtract and add to contingency. We haven't done it consistently for all of these items. So let me give you an example. Because I remember we did vote sometimes to specifically add things to contingency, but let's say 60, 51, 05, 10 from the first day economic development wages, 54, 810, and modified 36, 540. Oh, that's in a different fund. I guess I think my preference is just to do it all in a running total. But I'm interested in what Mr. Berg says.
Right, and
Yeah, I don't see the benefit of adding to a contingency account. I would, anytime we have an adjustment based on a cut or a change, I think it should reflect on the bottom line we're trying to improve. Adding to the contingency account there's already a healthy amount in there of 100,000. Why make it bigger?
I think that's where I was going to. It's still going to be an expenditure, an expense. So I'd rather just reduce our expenses overall.
would you want to make an amendment to change that from contingency to fund balance?
I think you're trying to balance the numbers on the different sides of the ledger, right?
There's more to it than that. Generally, Alderman Smith has carried that right down to the bottom line, the fund balance. I've stuck it in contingency, which hasn't changed the bottom line. So it definitely is a difference of intent. And my perspective here is I don't really care which pile it goes to, as long as we get the clerical correction done, so we don't have to deal with this Monday.
If it's a reduction of expenses, then it is going to be a reduction of the fund balance needed. So that would be my preference.
Would you like to make that amendment to the motion?
Sure. Mr. Berg,
So
yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so Alder Davis has made the motion to change the balancing account from contingency to fund balance.
Was there a second?
There is not a second to that yet. Is there a second to
I
that
did
motion?
second it.
No, was there a second to
did.
the first motion? On
Yes. Yes, I
Yes, I
contingency?
seconded it.
Okay.
Are we caught up on the record keeping? I don't want to get ahead of you.
Yeah, I just missed that. No.
Okay, so we have a motion from me, seconded by Davis. We have an amendment from Davis, seconded by Berg. Unless there's additional discussion, we will vote on the amendment first. Can we do these by acclamation, or do we have to do roll call?
Call the roll.
All right, let's do a roll call on both these then. All right, so on the motion, on the amendment, we're going to start with Alder Davis.
Aye.
I will vote aye. Mr. Berg?
Aye.
All right, that passes 3-0. We are back to the amended motion, which is to take those two amounts out of those two specific accounts and carry it down to fund balance. Unless there's any further comment, I will take a vote on the amended motion. And that's my motion, so I'll vote aye. Mr. Berg?
I think you've caused some confusion, Jonathan, in your approach here, but I'm I understood your initial intent and, Alderperson, Davis actually seconded it for discussion. She then made an amendment that, was basically negating your intent. It was totally changing the intent of what your motion was. So I favored her amendment and, so I don't,
Mr. Berg, I will reread what we're voting on right now, which is we're going to reduce 01-51-60-20, which is HR computer software, by 385. We are also going to reduce 01-51-95-45, which is employee benefits admin fees. We're going to reduce that by 1,000. The amended motion then states that we are going to change the fund balance by 1,385.
we're
Is
gonna
that clear?
reduce it. We're
Yes,
gonna
Yes, we're
reduce
going to
the fund balance by that amount.
yes.
Correct. Do you have any questions on what you're voting for now?
I'm in favor of that, yes. The answer is
So
yes.
you'll vote aye.
Yes.
All right, Alder Davis votes aye as well. So the amended motion passes 3-0. All right, thank you for that clarification, Mark.
We just saved 1385, people. Yes.
All right, is there any other business that we want to transact from prior budget tonight? As I stated before, that's the only one that I'd want to look at. All right, again, we are deferring action to approve the entire budget because we still have work to do on Monday, so we would expect to reconvene here with Monday. Hopefully Alder Smith can join us again and we can have a full discussion with the full finance committee. Yes, Mayor.
And three of you said you want that closed session added, correct?
Yep. Upon your recommendation, if we need that closed session.
If you want, it goes on.
Yeah, please. And the
I'm in
notice,
favor of it.
Yep. Okay. Again, there's nothing else we're doing on C. So we move on to our favorite item here, which is number 3, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Alder Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alder Berg. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
And the meeting Monday is 5:30. It looks like. Okay.